Taste the feeling.
For Total Home Pest Control, who are you going to call?
Call the Bug Man, 923-BUGS.
For total pest control for your home or business, call the original Salvant.
Call the Bug Man today, 923-BUGS.
Exiles from what you ask? Exiled from the radio. But now, we're on your television.
I'm Bill Profita, he's Kevin Gallagher, and they kicked us to the curb.
But we're back.
We are back with Exiles Television on the Pelican Broadcasting Network. We're going to bring you the newsmakers. We're also going to take your calls and give you great information. It's going to be the best damn radio show on television.
Look for it on your cable system or download the app, PelicanSportsTV.com.
They said I could find you here. Why are you fishing? Our company's got to ship out 2 full color brochures and 20 color copies. You're killing me.
It's done. Designed, printed, packaged, and shipped.
How?
You just got to know the right people. Baker Printing, the printing people.
How come you get to fish in this private lake?
Like I said, you just got to know the right people. You can know the right people too.
Hello guys, it's Debbie. It's time. I've got a brand new location. 10510 Airline Highway, Baton Rouge, next to After 5 Tuxedos. We have the perfect spot to get all your wedding and formal wear needs. Come see our one-of-a-kind name brand and get great prices. With 30 years experience, the best customer service anywhere. It's Debbie's Bridal, Airline Highway, Baton Rouge. See you soon.
One of our midweek edition of the Clarence Bug Show. Here's hoping that all has been well with you and yours since the last time we had the opportunity to spend a little time with you. Moments ago, here at our recording location, got a virtual downpour. Beta still doing what Beta has been doing, and throughout the course of the day, for those of you that have to get out and about, obviously, number one, rain gear is a must for today. Secondly, if you are driving today, you all know, God bless us, and that's the great thing about living in South Louisiana. You can say anything you want about anybody as long as you either preface it or end it with bless their little old hearts. Bless our little old hearts. When it comes to driving, Louisiana folks, y'all know how horribly we drive when it's dry. So you know what happens when you throw in all these torrential downpours from Beta. In other words, govern yourselves accordingly, guys, girls. I know so many folks now are just elated to be back at work. They're elated to be able to start resuming normalcy in their lives. But when you get out and about on the roadways, be especially careful because of weather conditions. A lot of folks, even after all the years of driving, still don't understand that the most dangerous time for driving in the rain is when the rain first starts. There is the phenomenon known as black ice. And Marty just say, why it's got to be black? Well, when our vehicles during the normal course of driving drip oil, transmission fluid, power steering fluid, all the other fluids on the roadway. You know how when you mix a little bit of water with oil or something petroleum based, how slick it becomes until you get that good old-fashioned gully washer, the frog strangler, where it can wash all of that accumulation of petrochem residue off the road. It is extremely slick. So, you know, for many of us, it's been years since we took a refresher course on driving. But when you get the rain like this, number one, first and foremost, turn those headlights on. I came through a couple of torrential downpours heading in this morning, and there were more cars with their lights off than there were cars with their lights on. Louisiana drivers, go figure. But aside from the safety aspect of it all, it is, of course, the law. And increase the distance between yourself and the car in front of you. Give yourself a little extra time to stop, because, you know, folks checking emails and updating Facebook and whatnot behind the wheel, they look up and have to slam on brakes. Next thing you know, you've got to do the same thing. Roads are slick, and now you end up on the Clarence Bug Show with a traffic update because you've shut down the interstate, not paying attention. Govern yourselves accordingly, guys and girls. And for those of you that are members of the community of faith, you have probably seen the footage by now of what Beta is doing to the folks in the Lone Star State, right next door in the great state of Texas, particularly in the Houston area. Those of us in the capital region, we are all too familiar with the ravages of flooding. So if you are a member of the community of faith, please be so kind as to keep those good folks there in your thoughts and your prayers. We start today's show talking about how tragedy can bring about the best in humanity. For so many years, we've heard, and particularly those of us that matriculate in sports circles, how coaches don't just teach X's and O's. They are makers of men. And at the end of the coaching journey, for the overwhelming majority of them, they are more focused on making good citizens as opposed to good football, basketball, or baseball players. Recently, a tragedy here in South Louisiana, and I'm sure you've heard the story by now. The gentle giant, Remy Hidalgo, lineman at Denham Springs High School, collapsing recently on the field and dying later on. It is a tragic story, but it is also a story that has seen just an overwhelming outpouring of support for Remy's family. As you would imagine, I mean, here in South Louisiana, that's who we are. That's what we do. And when it comes to our young people, our young athletes, and tragedies of this sort, we always reach out in just huge numbers and an outpouring of emotion and sympathy. Yesterday, it was as classic an example and as classy an example as you will ever find of great coaching and great kids. I saw this story, and I want to say it was on WAFB Channel 9. Got to tip my hat to Lester Ricard, the coach at Scotlandville High School. This week, unannounced, the entire Scotlandville High School football team showed up at Denham Springs High to practice with the Denham Springs team. A gesture to say, we might attend different schools. At some point later in the season, we will be opponents. But for this day, we want you to know that we share in your grief. On this day, we want you to know that we truly are a football family. The coaches at Denham Springs High School had no idea that this was going to happen. I would have gladly purchased a ticket to be there when these buses roll up. And the coaches are probably saying, well, what are these buses doing here? School's out, we're practicing, what's going on? And then all these young men from a different school come walking off the bus, offering condolences, giving hugs, giving high fives. It was as classy and emotional a gesture as you will ever find. And I attempted this morning to get Coach Lester Ricard on the show, and we were unable to make that happen. But I had to take some time to tip my hat to this guy. I don't know what the impetus was for them to do it. Well, I mean, I know the impetus obviously was sharing in a family member's grief. I get that. But I would love to have known what the logistics entailed, what the response of the team was like, and knowing these young men and how they love the sport. I can only imagine that whomever it was that threw out the idea, we ought to go visit these guys. Let's go practice with them and let them know how we feel. I can only imagine it was 110% support from the team to go and do that. And in these days of social upheaval and political unrest and this, that, and the other, for them to think this way says so very much about South Louisiana. For them to think this way says so very much about the young men in the football program at Scotlandville High School. And it says so much about Coach Lester Ricard and the job that he is doing, not just making football players, but being a maker of men and a maker of good citizens. I can't imagine how emotional that had to be for all involved. And I've got to imagine that years from now, when playing football is only a distant memory for the young men at Denham Springs High School, they will forget statistics from this game, that game, the other game. They will forget whether or not it was standing room only for this day, that day, another day. They will forget who the trainers were, who the boosters were. But I got to imagine they'll never forget this gesture from young men that oppose them on the gridiron, putting forth as much physical effort as possible to defeat them. But in their hour of bereavement, in their hour of need, they were there. That's something that speaks volumes. And if you haven't been there yet in life, just keep living, because your turn is coming. There will be a day when you will need that support. And it's times like those where that support comes from the most unlikely of sources that it has the greatest impact. Tip of the hat to all involved. It is truly the essence of what folks in Louisiana are all about. At the end of the day, I guess it's really no surprise why people come here from all over the world. And when they leave, what do they talk about? The food, the music, the culture, but most of all, the people. Just saying. First break of hour one. Let me bang this out. And unfortunately, we will have to talk about something that is nowhere near as inspiring, but hopefully will help us bring about a change. That's next as we continue hour one of the midweek edition of the Clarence Bug Show, here and only here on the Pelican. Stay close.
I owed the IRS $10,000.
The IRS garnished my wages.
They put a lien on my house.
I'm self-employed and didn't report all my income. They claim I owe a lot more than I do.
The IRS is the most powerful collection agency in the world. They do not give up until you pay.
I couldn't sleep. We were being audited. I called Tax Solutions Now, and a great big weight was lifted off my shoulders.
I called Tax Solutions Now, and they got the IRS off my back.
Tax Solutions Now had my wage garnishment lifted in 48 hours.
Tax Solutions Now can get you help. Our agents know the rules, can stop the pain, and get you the best deal.
Tax Solutions Now saved my business.
I qualified for the Fresh Start program. I paid less than I owed.
We connect you with a team of former IRS agents and tax professionals who get the IRS off your back. Time is running out. Call Tax Solutions now.
Call 800-778-4345. 800-778-4345.
From appetizers, pasta dishes, and entrees, La Contea takes pride in preparing all the Italian cuisine we know you love. Enjoy live music every Thursday through Saturday from 6 to 9, happy hour weekdays from 3 to 6, and brunch on Sundays from 11 to 2, as well as dinner portion-sized lunch specials for under $10. Visit our website to view our menu and book a party or meeting in our large banquet room. Once you try La Contea, your Italian dining will change forever.
That's right, the Clarence Bug Show is back, along with the Exiles, Bill Profita and Kevin Gallagher. We've put the band back together, South Louisiana's talk team, and it's only on the Pelican. 10 a.m. till 12 noon, right here on the Pelican.
Hi, I'm Bobby Yarborough with Manda Fine Meats. Here at Manda, we know what the folks of South Louisiana love. They love great flavored smoked sausage, delicious deli meats, and specialty items like boudin and andouille sausage. Manda Fine Meats has been providing these products since 1947. We produce them right here in Baton Rouge, so you know you're always getting the freshest product at your local grocery store. Manda Fine Meats. Taste the fresh local flavor in everything we make. Make it Manda every time.
Bolello's Furniture and Appliances, your dependable independent. Depend on us for service, for selection, for price. Get huge Whirlpool savings. Shop now and save on Whirlpool appliances throughout the store. Plus, experience our price match guarantee and ask about special financing.
You can depend on the know-how of people who live appliances every day.
Bolello's Furniture and Appliances, your dependable independent with nationwide buying power.
Midweek edition of the Clarence Bug Show. Kind of one of those yucky kind of days out of doors. It's going to be that way for most of the day. So hopefully you are already prepared for that. If you have listened and or watched me over 4 decades of broadcasting, you know that I am one of those people that loves his state dearly. I, on countless occasions, have been guilty of wearing my Louisiana on my shoulders. And things that we talk about on this show, things that are pet peeves, things that have relegated us to the top of so many bad lists and the bottom of so many good lists. These are things that I bring out on occasion only because I want the best for my state. And only because I know in so many instances we can and should be better than this. One of the things that you have heard me talk about over the years is our propensity to drink and drive. The laissez-aller, bon temps roulé attitude that we have in Louisiana lends itself to the undisciplined getting behind the wheel of a vehicle and refusing to exercise restraint. Now listen, I get it. Alcohol is something that lowers one's inhibitions. I get it. That is a biological fact. Alcohol is something that leads to individuals making poor decisions. I get it. We see it every day. We see it over and over again. But every now and then, we come across stories, instances, situations, if you will, that really drive it home. Not so very long ago, we talked about a story of a cab driver. And I want to say that driver hailed from the Bogalusa area, maybe the Covington area, I forget exactly where. But the cabbie, and I use that term affectionately, drove a cab in New Orleans for decades. And the weekend, final weekend at work before retiring, ended up being killed in a crash involving a drunk driver. There are certain things in life that should not happen. If you are, like yours truly, a man of faith, you also believe there are certain things that God in His infinite wisdom has put in place to help us navigate this thing we call life. For example, parents are not supposed to bury their children. Children are supposed to bury their parents. I will never forget the night that my cell phone rang at 2:30 in the morning. And most of you know nothing good happens when your phone rings 2:30 in the morning. And particularly, nothing good happens when your cell phone rings at 2:30 in the morning. You open it up and you look at it and it's the sheriff calling. Show you how things work. A couple of weeks before I got this phone call, 2:30 in the morning, I'm at WJBO, News Radio 1150, doing my show. And 10 minutes before its airtime, Sheriff Sid Gotro comes walking down the hall and he sees me at my desk doing show prep. So he stops to holler and says, "Bugs, how you doing?" I said, "I'm doing good, Sheriff, how are you?" And we exchanged pleasantries, blah, blah, blah. I said, "What you doing here?" He said, "Well, I'm here to be on the morning guy's show." So right before he leaves, the sheriff says, "Bugs, do you have my cell phone?" I said, "No, Sheriff, I don't think I do." He said, "Let me give you my cell phone just in case you should ever need it." So he gives me his cell phone number. And I then say, "Well, let me give you mine just in case you ever needed to call me for anything." We swap numbers. 2 weeks later, 2:30 in the morning, my cell phone rings and I see on the screen Sheriff Sid Gotro. I knew this was not going to be good. And of course, you all probably know the story by now. The sheriff called to tell me that they had found my brother deceased. This week in Bogalusa, 42-year-old Narcia Green, arrested on charges of driving under the influence. Ms. Green got into an accident, flipped her vehicle while driving down LA 21. Car leaves the roadway, flips over, her 11-year-old son, Johnny Green, ejected from the vehicle, suffers serious injuries, and dies in the hospital 2 days later. A 4-year-old, also inside the vehicle, fortunately only suffered minor injuries. Ms. Green taken to the hospital with moderate injuries. Charges include vehicular homicide, careless operation, no child restraint, no seatbelt, and it's now been determined, driving under the influence. Let me say for the record, I cannot begin to imagine the pain of having to carry for the rest of your life the burden of having caused your own child's death, particularly from something that could have so easily been prevented. I can't imagine going a single day and not every time I see another child, every time I see a mother with her child, every time I see a family in a car with their young kids, I can't imagine not having to relive that horrific incident all over again. God, in His infinite wisdom, set down a natural order of things. Again, parents are not supposed to bury their children. Children are supposed to bury their parents. That's the way God designed our universe to work. And throughout all the time that we have continued in my beloved Louisiana to struggle with the problem of drinking and driving, every now and then there is an instance that happens that hopefully forces us to stop and take stock. I mentioned I can't imagine having to deal every single day for the rest of your life knowing you caused the death of your own child. But I also think about the first responders that had to respond to that accident scene. I have to think about the law enforcement officers called on scene to investigate this and the emotional and psychological baggage that they will carry as a result of this. Of all the things that you can lock away into your mind to call upon at times where you have that moment where you decide, do I pick up these keys and attempt to drive home, knowing that I've imbibed, knowing that I've consumed alcohol. And sadly, for many here in my beloved Louisiana, many of us have done it so many times over such a long period of time, we no longer take the time to entertain the thought of whether or not I should do this. I beseech you, brethren, my fellow Louisianians, lock this story away in your mind so that this 11-year-old's memory will not fall by the wayside. Let this be as tragic a situation as it is. Let this be one of the things that forces us to look in Louisiana's mirror and decide, finally, that we're better than this, that we can do better than this. It truly would be a shame to have it happen again. And it truly would be a shame for one of us to have to go through the same thing again. There's something to be said about, Clarence, I was just minding my business. We're coming home from school, from soccer practice, from a birthday party, whatever, and some clown had too much to drink, crossed the center line, slammed head on into our vehicle. That is what that is. But when you get behind the wheel and take the life of your own child or someone else's child, that's something else entirely. We should be, and we can be, better than this, Louisiana. Just saying. Bottom of the hour. Let me get this break out of the way. We'll soldier on the Wednesday edition of the Clarence Bug Show, here and only here on the Pelican. Stay close.
Hi, I am Dr. Farrell Fruge Jr., and I am a general dentist at Fruge Family Dentistry. I was born and raised in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I went to Catholic High School, LSU, and LSU School of Dentistry in New Orleans, where I received my DDS degree in 1986. I always have and will continue to be committed to continuing my education, to invest in technology which makes the diagnosis and delivery of dentistry more thorough, more comfortable, and more aesthetically pleasing. In our practice, we are here to serve the patients. We want to improve their quality of life and to develop relationships with our patients. In dentistry, we have a chance to impact lives on a daily basis, not just by doing dentistry, but by getting to know them and being a part of their life. We also believe in giving back to our community. So every year, we give back to the Greater Baton Rouge Food Bank, Toys for Tots, and Mary Bird Perkins Cancer Center. Please stop by and visit our office. We would love to take care of you and your family.
Jaguar Nation, we need your help in masking up Louisiana.
Masks help us slow the spread of COVID-19.
During this time, we must continue to wear a mask. Wash your hands and practice social distancing.
It's important that we continue to abide by the CDC's guidelines to stop the spread.
Jaguar Nation, we challenge you to mask up. Go Jags!
Hello guys, it's Debbie. It's time. I've got a brand new location. 10510 Airline Highway, Baton Rouge, next to After 5 Tuxedos. We have the perfect spot to get all your wedding and formal wear needs. Come see our one-of-a-kind name brand and get great prices. With 30 years experience, the best customer service anywhere. It's Debbie's Bridal, Airline Highway, Baton Rouge. See you soon.
For Total Home Pest Control, who are you going to call?
Call the Bug Man, 923-BUGS.
For total pest control for your home or business, call the original Salvant.
Call the Bug Man today, 923-BUGS.
They said I could find you here. Why are you fishing? Our company's got to ship out 2 full color brochures and 20 color copies. You're killing me.
It's done. Designed, printed, packaged, and shipped.
How?
You just got to know the right people. Baker Printing, the printing people.
How come you get to fish in this private lake?
Like I said, you just got to know the right people. You can know the right people too.
midweek edition of the Clarence Bug Show. There's a line from, I think it's Hannibal, if I remember right. Help me out, Marty, from the A-Team, that says, "I love it when a plan comes together." You don't know, white people can't find good help nowhere these days. A-Team, yeah, is the A-Team. If you were with us earlier this week on Monday's show, you will remember that I did a segment on politics makes strange bedfellows. How this city manager in California, and he's under fire, by the way, now they're calling for his resignation, after the ambush of the 2 LA law enforcement officers, tweeted a picture of Malcolm X, chickens coming home to roost. Remember that segment we talked about? And I also, this week, Monday's show, did a segment on if Donald Trump is a racist, he's a poor excuse for a racist. And I listed all of these things that Donald Trump has done for the community of color since taking office. And I listed 4 things in particular. Back to politics makes strange bedfellows. And for those of you that have never heard that adage before, it is simply alluding to the fact that in politics, oftentimes, you find individuals, groups, entities that are on opposite sides of the political spectrum, but come together and find common ground on certain issues. It's amazing how so many times when you tell the truth, things just fall in line behind that. Vernon Jones is my political opposite. Let me give you just a brief bit of his resume. Vernon Jones is a big-time Democrat Party politician from the state of Georgia. He was the chief executive officer of DeKalb County, Georgia, from 2001 to 2009, and in the Georgia House of Representatives from 1993 to 2001, and elected to the Georgia House in 2016. Vernon Jones penned an article one day after I did the segment, and maybe he was watching the Clarence Bug Show and did some research and decided to write this article. One day after, I run across this article on the website thenationalpulse.com. It is entitled, "Trump has done more for black people in 4 years than Joe Biden has in 50. Let me read this article and share it with you if I may. Joe Biden has had almost half a century to implement policies that would help black Americans, but he didn't. Instead, he engaged in racial demagoguery, calculated solely to further his own ambitions. Oh, by the way, did I mention Vernon Jones is black, like me. Big-time Democrat from Georgia, but he's black, like me. The article continues. There was a time the Democrat Party was home to many of America's leading lights on race relations. People who were willing to ignore or even defy mainstream opinion to advance a cause they knew to be right and just. Black Americans enthusiastically gravitated toward that, even overlooking the privately bigoted views of many Democrat leaders. Before long, however, the Democrat establishment began to take our support for granted, paying lip service to the cause of racial justice on the campaign trail, but then perpetuating an unjust status quo in office. From his earliest days in politics, Joe Biden has employed his cynical strategy with infuriating consistency. As he reminded voters just last year, he proudly collaborated with openly segregationist colleagues during his early days in the U.S. Senate, a time when he was also an adamant foe of integrating America's public schools. 2 decades later, Joe Biden led the charge to implement one of the most racially discriminatory policy regimes since the end of Jim Crow, the, quote, tough on crime criminal justice laws of the late 1980s and early 1990s, describing his position as, quote, lock the SOBs up, end of quote. Most notoriously, he played a leading role in crafting the notorious 1994 crime bill that dramatically increased the incarceration rate for Black Americans, ushering in an era of mass incarceration that devastated our community for generations. That record didn't hurt him when he sought re-election in Lillywhite, Delaware, and as his ambitions took him to greater national prominence, he arrogantly expected that a D after his name would be all he needed to secure the votes of millions of Black Americans. Biden's patronizing description of Barack Obama as, quote, the first clean, mainstream African American candidate wasn't even the most offensive remark he uttered during the 2008 campaign cycle. That distinction goes to his claim that he would appeal to Southern white voters because his home state of Delaware was a slave state that sided with the North in the Civil War. 4 years later, while campaigning for re-election as Obama's vice president, Biden shamelessly told Black voters that Republicans would, quote, put y'all back in chains. A bitter irony, considering the role Biden himself had played in locking up generations of Black Americans. Nothing has changed since then. Biden still expects Black people to compliantly cast their votes for him, despite the fact that he has done nothing for us. In this election cycle, Biden went from insulting Black folks with his claim that, quote, poor kids are just as smart as white kids, to presumptuously declaring that, quote, you ain't Black if you don't vote for him in this election, a perspective evidently informed by his belief that there's barely any diversity in the Black community. President Trump is Biden's polar opposite. While Biden was turning a blind eye to the rioting, looting, and indiscriminate violence afflicting Democrat-run cities all over the country this summer, the president was demanding that Democrat governors and mayors allow their police forces to restore law and order, pointing out that destroying small businesses in majority Black communities does nothing to advance the cause of racial justice, but does negatively impact the people who live in those communities. Whereas Joe Biden assumes that Black people will turn out in droves to vote for him, despite his long history of working against our interests, President Trump is grateful for every Black vote he receives, rightly viewing that support as vindication of his successful efforts to empower and uplift Black Americans. As a result of the blue-collar boom created by the Trump administration's pro-growth economic policies. For instance, the black unemployment rate reached multiple all-time lows prior to the disruption caused by the coronavirus pandemic. Even more importantly, Donald Trump achieved something that Democrat politicians have been promising for decades, yet always failed to deliver: criminal justice reform that corrects the gross injustices that Biden helped put in place all those years ago. Thanks to the First Step Act, remember I told y'all about this, thousands of non-violent black inmates have been able to earn early release, and thousands more have received help developing the personal and professional skills necessary to become productive members of society. In this respect, President Trump is the one who is carrying on the legacy of past civil rights crusaders, working diligently to do what's right, despite knowing that he might never receive widespread recognition. Joe Biden had half a century to improve conditions for black Americans, but he chose racial demagoguery instead. President Trump did more for the black community in less than 4 years than Joe Biden did in over 4 decades. Now, I know what some of y'all are saying. Well, some of y'all that don't want to acknowledge the truth. Well, they must have paid him to say that. Well, it doesn't matter if you are paid or not paid. The truth is the truth. It doesn't matter if the truth is spoken by a Democrat or a Republican. It's still the truth. It doesn't matter if the truth is spoken by someone white, someone black, someone Asian, Latino, whatever. It's still the truth. Vernon Jones, black man, big time, lifelong Democrat. But he understands that the truth is what the truth is. Don't take my word for it. Do your homework. Do your research. And hopefully, come November, you will govern yourselves accordingly. When y'all finish huffing and puffing, don't worry. Got a commercial break. You can get it out your system. We're going to talk some more next when we continue hour 1 of the Clarence Bug Show, only on the Pelican. Stay close.
Hi, I'm Bobby Yarborough with Manda Fine Meats. Here at Manda, we know what the folks of South Louisiana love. They love great flavored smoked sausage, delicious deli meats, and specialty items like boudin and andouille sausage. Manda Fine Meats has been providing these products since 1947. We produce them right here in Baton Rouge, so you know you're always getting the freshest product at your local grocery store. Manda Fine Meats. Taste the fresh local flavor in everything we make. Make it Manda every time.
No one can stop me when I taste the feeling. Nothing could ever bring me down. Nothing could ever bring me down. Taste the feeling.
Hi, business owners. Phase 3. Woohoo! But do your customers know you're back? Well, that's where the Clarence Bug Show and Pelican Broadcasting can help. Right now, we've got great rates on advertising packages to help you get the word out. Shoot me an email at bugsclarence@gmail.com. Or better yet, call me up. I'd love to talk with you. 225-485-6839. Let's get together and make Phase 3 the best it can possibly be.
Exiles from what, you ask? Exiled from the radio, but now we're on your television.
I'm Bill Profita, he's Kevin Gallagher, and they kicked us to the curb.
But we're back.
We are back with Exiles Television on the Pelican Broadcasting Network. We're going to bring you the newsmakers. We're also going to take your calls and give you great information. It's going to be the best damn radio show on television.
Look for it on your cable system or download the app, PelicanSportsTV.com.
From appetizers, pasta dishes, and entrees, La Contea takes pride in preparing all the Italian cuisine we know you love. Enjoy live music every Thursday through Saturday from 6 to 9, happy hour weekdays from 3 to 6, and brunch on Sundays from 11 to 2, as well as dinner portion-sized lunch specials for under $10. Visit our website to view our menu and book a party or meeting in our large banquet room. Once you try La Contea, your Italian dining will change forever.
Live and play on the fairway at Greystone Golf and Country Club, a serene, challenging golf destination located in Denham Springs. For tee times and membership opportunities, go to GreystoneCountryClub.com.
Welcome back to hour one of our midweek edition of the Clarence Bug Show. You know, as I watch all this upheaval in our country, it is painful to watch. But I have also come to grips with the fact that being blessed with what is arguably the most amazing exercise in self-governance in the history of planet Earth. There are going to be times when we find ourselves having to deal with certain things. Lest we forget, we have had wars in this country that we've had to take part in where collectively millions of Americans have given their lives to give us the freedoms and the liberties that we enjoy. And while it is painful at times to go through all of this, it gives me hope when I look at groups like our military, law enforcement, others, that are still dedicated to keeping these freedoms and these liberties intact. Now, that being said, what may be most painful of all to me is how we, everyday Americans, have become so very lazy, and how we, as Americans, refuse, for whatever reason, to live up to the tenets that form the foundation of this country. Here's what I mean. I watch as Congress continues to neglect its duty to help the American people with a stimulus package, again, during the course of this pandemic. There was a time not so long ago where Americans would have flooded the streets of Washington, D.C., demanding that Congress get off their lazy butts, do their job, and give some more relief to the American people. Now, I understand the media has so many of us brainwashed, has so many of us running in all these different directions, pointing fingers at each other, while they continue to neglect the oath that they have sworn to you and I, just regular old American folks. Not so very long ago, We would have shut D.C. down if Congress didn't get off their butts and do their job. But now we're just, I guess, content to, protest about this, protest about that, but we protest about everything other than the things that truly matter. Ran across an article this week, and this pretty much sums it all up, talking about Congress and what they are not doing. Elissa Slotkin, Democrat Congresswoman from the state of Michigan, proclaiming on CNN, I'm not leaving D.C. until the two sides get together, compromise, and come up with a second stimulus bill to help out the American people. I'm not leaving. Quote, I just knew that I was not going back to my district and walk around and go to the grocery store and have people ask me again about the state of the latest COVID emergency bill and tell them that because of politics, we couldn't get in a room together. She proclaimed this on CNN to Jake Tapper last week. I'm not leaving. I'm staying in D.C. until the two sides get together, hammer out the differences, and give the American people some relief. Because I'm not going back home and have to tell my people as I walk through the district, if I'm shopping, standing in line at the grocery store, I'm not going to be there having to tell my people, well, because of politics, we couldn't get y'all some help. Well, as my favorite liberal friend Rod loves to hear me say, lo and behold, who did they spot at Washington Reagan International Airport 40 minutes after leaving CNN, but Congresswoman Slotkin getting on a plane, heading out. Now you got on national and international news declaring, I ain't leaving. I'm staying here until we get this thing hammered out to help the American people. I'm not going home and have to explain to the people in my district, people in the grocery store, why they don't have any help because we can't get together because of politics and give them some relief. I'm not leaving. Homegirl didn't stick around an hour. 40 minutes later, she taking off her shoes, putting them in the bin, taking a cell phone and a purse, putting it in the bin to run through the metal detector so she can get on the plane. 40 minutes later. You can't make this stuff up. And here's the truly sad part. Nobody asked you to say this. You could have very easily said, well, I'm going home, but I'm going to return as quickly as possible because the American people need some relief. Nobody asked you to lie. You know, it's one thing in the heat of the moment of whatever the circumstance is that's happening, you hemmed up, as we say in the streets, you hemmed up and you got to say something, so a lie just happens to come out. That is what that is. But when you lie unsolicited, that tells me what you really think about me. Not even an hour. 40 minutes later, homegirl catching the first thing smoking. After telling us, I ain't going nowhere till we fix this mess and help the American people. You know what's even sadder? We're not even up in arms about it. And we're still suffering. Something to make you go, Hour 2, next. Stay close.
Hello guys, it's Debbie. It's time. I've got a brand new location. 10510 Airline Highway, Baton Rouge, next to After 5 Tuxedos. We have the perfect spot to get all your wedding and formal wear needs. Come see our one-of-a-kind name brand and get great prices. With 30 years experience, the best customer service anywhere. It's Debbie's Bridal, Airline Highway, Baton Rouge. See you soon.
No one can stop me when I taste the feeling. Nothing could ever bring me down. Nothing could ever bring me down. Taste the feeling.
Furniture and Appliances, your dependable independent. Depend on us for service, for selection, for price. Get huge Whirlpool savings. Shop now and save on Whirlpool appliances throughout the store. Plus, experience our price match guarantee and ask about special financing.
You can depend on the know-how of people who live appliances every day.
Bolello's Furniture and Appliances, your dependable independent with nationwide buying power.
For total home pest control, who are you going to call?
Call the Bug Man, 923-BUGS.
For total pest control for your home or business, call the original Salvat.
Call the Bug Man today, 923-BUGS.
Hour 2 of our midweek edition of the Clarence Bug Show. Here again is hoping that all is well with you and yours in your part of the world. And if not, as we are so fond of saying, good Lord willing, you'll still be here and you will have the opportunity to correct all of that. We are ever so slowly and progressively now getting more of a sense of normalcy. And good news this week in two areas of recreation, here in the capital city and, of course, in New Orleans as well. We start by dealing with the capital city. Our nationally acclaimed, award-winning Parks and Recreation Service, BREC, entering Phase 3 with reopening plans. Well, now it's no longer plans. They've started yesterday, reopening their fitness centers. Joining us to talk more about this is the Communications Director for BREC, our very own Cheryl Michelet. Cheryl, good morning, and how are you?
Good morning, Clarence. I'm doing well, and I hope you are too.
Thank you, my dear. I certainly am. So how enthused are the folks over at BREC to reach this point of being able to reopen the fitness centers?
So happy. Since March, most of our indoor facilities were not able to be open. So to get the fitness centers, the recreation centers, and some of the special use facilities that weren't able to open back where people can visit them and start getting that healthy activity they need.
Yeah.
It's great. We're happy to do it. Now, we're doing it in a way that makes sure that it's safe.
Right.
So we aren't at full capacity, but we want to make sure people are comfortable and that we have time to sanitize in between each visit.
I've got to imagine that this is particularly good news for your older patrons. I mean, the younger folks, they can get out in the yard, they can go and do this, they can make recreation of sorts for themselves. But I've got to imagine with your older patrons, that's like appointment recreation for them. They've got to be particularly enthused, probably more so than anybody.
I would say you're right. And along with the fitness centers opening and other areas of our system, we're doing more events and programs. And adult leisure, finally, we are able to safely serve again. Now, we've been doing some virtual programming.
Right.
And that's great. But I do feel like people miss that face-to-face contact. Got to be 6 feet apart, but
Right.
you can still see each other in the same room. And I know that makes such a difference.
Yeah. So what sort of protocols are in place for folks that are going, wow, I can finally go back to the indoor-outdoor BREC facility and resume this somewhat sense of normalcy? What kind of protocols are we talking about here?
Well, so you talked about fitness centers, and what we've done is limit capacity based on social distancing. So we're not saying, say 25% or 50% of the building capacity. It's looking at the equipment and how can you use it and still keep social distancing.
Right.
Masks are required. We're doing temperature checks, and we're sanitizing on a regular basis, but we're also asking people and providing the equipment they need to be able to sanitize before they use equipment.
Okay. Now, what about the employees? Are there protocols in place for the employees as opposed to what we just talked about with the patrons?
Yes, employees are required to wear masks. They're also having their temperature taken and being asked questions before they come in to a BREC facility to work. If they have had any contact with somebody who's tested positive, they're asked to quarantine and get a test and show that it's negative. And are also asked, if they're just not feeling well, don't come in.
Right.
And so we've been doing that throughout this pandemic, but now, it's some of the facilities where we had people in there making sure that they were clean and maintained. Now they get to serve people.
Right.
And so it's I think, nice for them as well.
When we talk about the indoor facilities, will patrons have to go through temperature checks? Will they have to submit any health information or anything like that?
They'll just, like when you go to any, say, a doctor's office where you're asked a few questions, you'll be asked the questions, and some of the facilities are doing temperature checks. Some are not. If they're, say, a golf, what is the word that you use when you check in to play golf? The golf shop?
Right.
They're doing questionnaires. The zoo is doing questionnaires. But some of those indoor facilities, they're doing temperature checks.
Okay. What facilities are still closed at this point, Cheryl?
Well, we never opened Liberty Lagoon. We could have opened it, but felt like it just wasn't safe.
Right.
And so, now that we're into late September, all of the lifeguards would be back in school, and we've just decided it will not open for this season. Pools did open, but they're closed for now. Our indoor playgrounds and interactive room is closed, just because that's real high-touch areas for kids and also indoors. The zoo train still cannot operate because amusement park rides are not allowed. And I'm looking at my list here to see if I'm leaving anything out. It looks like everything else is pretty much open, but when you do a rental, say you're having a birthday party or some sort of event at a pavilion, you can also get a permit for a tent or a barbecue, but we are not allowing inflatables right now.
Okay. So if you want to have that birthday party or anniversary or whatever the situation is, what's the correct procedure to go through to acquire that space in a BREC facility?
So, you can look. We've got a page on our website, brec.org/rentals, and see what's available. And then there's contact information because there are many different buildings or pavilions and parks.
Right.
And you contact them, and they'll get working with you on it. Right now, with rentals, they have to be private events.
Okay.
Sometimes we'll have real large-scale events where people open it to the public,
right?
And we're not allowing those kind of rentals at this point.
As best you know, if I were to rent a meeting room, larger room, what have you, from BREC, are we still talking about a certain percentage occupancy? I can't pack the place to the rafters, right?
Right. And again, we're not using a number like 25% or 50%. Staff went into each building and looked at how many people can be in here and still keep a 6 feet distance.
Right.
And so there's a number per building, which it's different for even every room. You may have multiple rooms in one building.
Right.
And so they've got those numbers. Same with, there's a capacity level for stadiums that we're working with schools on for football games.
Right.
And they went in and walked the stadiums and figured out what that customer experience would look like. And each side of the stadium has a capacity limit.
Okay. So how is the BREC staff holding up these days? I know you all had been particularly cognizant of trying to keep the employees and staff as healthy as possible. Where do we stand as we speak, Cheryl?
Still doing that, trying to, make sure this has been a long year. And I saw numbers recently that our visitation has been up 41% this year.
Awesome.
And that means a lot of cleaning, a lot of mowing grass, putting out the trash, and just making sure that everything stays normal for people in this very uncertain time. And so staff has worked really hard. But, for the most part, everybody stayed healthy. I think morale is stayed up because they're doing good work for the community. But, it is a difficult time. And so you have to really pay attention to that. And each department head has been doing everything they can to just let people know what great jobs that they've done. And can't say that we're getting back to normal anytime soon, but just keep up the work as we get closer to that.
And that, my friend, is why you are the nationally recognized organization that you are. Cheryl Michelet, Communications Director for BREC, thank you so much for the time. More important, thanks for doing a great job, and thank you for spending some time with us. We appreciate it, Cheryl.
Thank you.
All right, let's get our first break of hour one. We mentioned this is great news for recreation in Baton Rouge. There's also great news in recreation for our friends just up the road in the Crescent City. That's coming up next as we continue hour two of the Clarence Bug Show here on the Pelican. Stay close.
Sometimes life is wonderful, and sometimes it's not. Cherish the good but always be prepared for life's challenges. At Private Healthcare, we provide the peace of mind you deserve. With Private Healthcare, you'll get the coverage you want and healthcare you need. If your employer doesn't supply healthcare coverage and you don't qualify for Medicare or Medicaid, you need to give us a call right now. Private Healthcare is private health insurance for ages 65 and under with medical, dental, vision, and even prescription coverage. When life comes at you unexpectedly, you need to be ready. And health insurance is your financial safety net. Health insurance has never been so easy and affordable. If you're looking for health coverage at the best price and your annual household income is $35,000 or more, call the number on the screen now and speak with a live healthcare consultant. Don't wait. Get the coverage you need now.
Hi, I'm Hurricane Betsy Barnes.
And I'm Dr. Kay Siller with the Rocket Right Show.
We are two busy blondes on the go showing off life in Louisiana.
Watch us on Pelican Sports Network.
And Talk 107.3 FM. Check local listings for times.
Live and play on the fairway at Greystone Golf and Country Club, a serene, challenging golf destination located in Denham Springs. For tee times and membership opportunities, go to GreystonecountryClub.com.
That's right, the Clarence Bug Show is back, along with the Exiles, Bill Profita and Kevin Gallagher. We've put the band back together, South Louisiana's talk team, and it's only on the Pelican. 10 a.m. till 12 noon, right here on the Pelican.
From appetizers, pasta dishes, and entrees, La Contea takes pride in preparing all the Italian cuisine we know you love. Enjoy live music every Thursday through Saturday from 6 to 9, happy hour weekdays from 3 to 6, and brunch on Sundays from 11 to 2, as well as dinner portion-sized lunch specials for under $10. Visit our website to view our menu and book a party or meeting in our large banquet room. Once you try La Contea, your Italian dining will change forever.
We were able to connect with an amazing individual. And you guys and girls have heard me say, God knows how many times, I have been so blessed in my sports career, not to mention news, but in sports, I have hosted TV shows for 4 Hall of Fame coaches: Eddie Robinson, Roger Cador, Pete Richardson, Dale Brown. And there is a recurring theme among coaches that have a level of greatness within them and what they do. They're not just teachers of X's and O's. They're not just makers of football, basketball, or baseball players. They are makers of men, and they are makers of good citizens. I related to you the story, to start today's show, of Remy Hidalgo, the gentle giant, lineman at Denham Springs, tragically collapsing and dying at practice recently, and the outpouring of support from the immediate community. I also told you, guys and girls, about the amazing story of the Scotlandville High School football team showing up at practice to lend emotional support to this hurting team. Joining us on the phone is Lester Ricard, the coach for the Scotlandville Hornets. Coach, good morning, and how are you today, sir?
I'll tell you what, I'm blessed, man. And Lord have mercy, the introduction was, that was overwhelming enough, you know.
Bless your heart.
And those some names you called, man. I just, you know, we're just trying to do our part in society, man, and teach these kids the right thing.
So,
you know,
how did this come about? What was the impetus for this? How did this come about, Coach?
So, obviously, like you said earlier, there's a need. You know, there's a need, an immediate need.
Right.
And the thing that I wanted to do was, I didn't want to do anything that was normal. I kind of wanted to do something that not really set us apart, but I wanted to do something special and let them know from a special place how we felt about them, even though we compete against them game in and game out. I just wanted them to know that they got brothers, man, and that's the thing that we try to relate to those kids, man. I mean, you know, we live in such a toxic climate right now in society, you know, where, you know, it's racially, you know, it's ugly right now, you know, in the world. And
you still there, Coach?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Okay.
So one of the things that we wanted to do with our football program and our players was to just lend a helping hand and to be there for a suffering community, a hurting community, and let them know that we're here for them every step of the way.
I mentioned when I talked about this story at the beginning of the show that some of these kids at Denham Springs, and for that matter at Scotlandville, years from now, down the road, they may forget the statistics of a particular game. They may forget whether or not this game or another game was sold out. They may forget what the record was in their freshman or junior year. But one thing I've got to imagine, Coach, they will never forget is this experience of sharing in that brotherhood with guys that they're going to square off as opponents at some point. But in this particular instance, this is something I got to imagine they will remember for the rest of their lives. That's got to be one of the most rewarding things from a coaching standpoint that you can get out of this profession, correct?
Well, absolutely, man. You know, we talk about it here at Scotlandville. I know for myself in particular, you know, I've worked my entire life in ministry. My dad's a pastor. I'm an ordained minister. And coaching just kind of became part of the DNA because of my playing history, you know. So, I watched my dad, you know, as, you know, coming throughout my life, especially through my early years and even now, just be so unselfish, man. I watched my dad go to hospitals and pray for sick people. I watched him pray with grieving families and preach funeral after funeral of a lost one, show his support financially when people needed him. I guess it's kind of in my DNA. You know what I mean? It was really not. It was really. I didn't look at it in terms of, well, look at Lester, Ricard, and Scotlandville. Look what we're doing. I've always been in help my whole life. You know. And my dad has always been, if you see a need, son, get it done. Don't ask. Don't whine about what you don't have. Get it done. And that's I saw a need, man. You know, and I just thought it was important that we reached out to the Denham Springs players. My wife and I, along with my sister, donated some money to them as well, to the family. The mother sent me probably the most heartfelt message ever last night on Facebook, and it broke me into tears. I was trying to get some sleep, and I get a ding on my phone, you know, from an alert. And I just you know, it hit home, man. And but my players, man, you know, we've done. You know, I'm trying to teach them the value and art of, like I said earlier, of giving back into, and when you see a need, you know, get out there and get the job done. We took a big group to Lake Charles about 2 weeks ago. They went out there and did a cleanup effort at some people's homes who were devastated by the storm. Plan on going back out there. You know, listen, I think we got a good program. I think we'll win some games this year, and I think we'll go far. But, I mean, it's almost like they're saying about what is gaining the whole world and losing your soul. You know, what is winning the state championship and the kids, the only thing they got out of it was wins and losses. How about we give them some good core values of being good young men, being a good son, a good father one day, a good brother, because that's what it's more about. And then, you know, yesterday was just really a culmination of, you know, we left 20, 30 kids back at the school because we just didn't have enough cars at the time we were leaving, you know. And we had some upset kids because they all wanted to go. If I could have taken 100 kids yesterday, I would have had 110 go. Managers, coaches included. They wanted to be there, man. You know, it's just, We just kind of ran out, with the transportation issues across the state and, buses and EBR, it didn't make for us being able to get everybody out there. So, it's all the kids want to give back, not just a portion of them, but, that's what we do. And I've tried to express to Coach Beard out there at Denham Springs that this isn't a one-stop deal. We're here. We're here for the long haul with them. Obviously, we play them 7, 8, 9 weeks from now,
right.
And the competition on the field will be what it be.
Right.
But from a brotherhood's perspective and what we stand for, that's not going away no time soon.
Man, I listened to what you just said in that last answer. We can go ahead on past the collection plate, say benediction, and go home, brother.
Ain't no doubt. Got a building fund coming up, huh?
White folk don't know about the building fund.
No, they don't quite know. No,
I have to tell the white folk about the building fund a little later on. So what was it like after practice was over? What were the kids like? What did they get from this, do you think, Coach?
Oh, I think my kids kind of understand fully. This is like I said earlier. This is holistically about making them be better people socially, academically, spiritually, athletically, because that's all a big part of their life. And we focus on the kid holistically, to try to help them be better people. And from a humility standpoint, they all felt it. And we've all kind of talked about it every day. We count our blessings, and sometimes people don't. But I count my blessings every day. I'm able to wake up, do a job I love. I love coaching. On top of it, I get to coach the kids at Scotlandville who are about as respectful as you can find in a young man. I get to be a part of the game that I've been a part of my entire life. I get to teach them spirituality and oneness with them.
Right.
While trying to win a few games, and they get it. The kids get it, and they embrace it so much. And when I say, listen, I need a group of guys, we are going to, we did a Christmas thing last year where we've been passed out presents at the community center. Man, they just, all right, Coach, we going, we there, we there. And that's how I think that's what I want to leave my mark on the game of football more than anything else. That, I don't know, am I going to win 26 state championships like J.T. Curtis? Don't know. I mean, I don't know if I got 26 years of coaching left in me.
Right.
Will I win 10 state championships? Who knows? And honestly, do I want to win? Yes. But, we sent 11 kids to college last year. We have 14 kids right now on our roster with scholarships. We're just trying to build men and build them the right way.
Well, Coach, I want you to know, listening to you talk about your father, the apple don't fall far from the tree, my friend.
Yes, sir.
And,
yes, sir.
At the end of the day, when this season is over, only God knows how many games you're going to win. But I would say to you, Lester Ricard, your young men will be the biggest winners in the most important game. And that, my friend, is the game of life.
I appreciate that. I really appreciate that. And that's what we're trying to do, man. We father them. We pick them up, drop them off, feed them. We go through the whole thing, man. But we enjoy it. We enjoy it, man. This is what God put us here for, man. Is to give back, to be our brother's keepers, right?
Yes,
and that's what I wanted my kids to see yesterday. Go be your brother's keepers. And this is the time to be your brother's keeper. And, Denham Springs is probably a lot different than Scotlandville in terms of the makeup of it.
Right.
That's not necessarily a bad thing. It just is different. It's a different climate, different culture.
Yeah.
But when you see those kids and you saw them hugging and shaking hands and embracing them, I saw coaches from Denham crying. I was like, dang, I hit hard, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mentioned, Coach, I mentioned that I have been so blessed in my sports career to be around coaches that had greatness within them. And I got to tell you, my friend, this is the first time you and I have ever spoken, but I see in you, Coach, a lot of the greatness that I had the privilege of being a part of with Eddie Robinson, Dale Brown, Roger Cador, Pete Richardson. Keep doing what you're doing, my brother. The world needs a lot more Lester Ricards. God bless you, Coach.
Thank you, man. Have a good one, man. I appreciate this. Anytime you need me, man, I'm there, okay?
Thank you, my friend. Take care and stay safe, Coach.
Yes, sir. You too. Yes, sir.
Wow. Wow. How am I supposed to follow that, Marty? Commercial break. There you go. There you go. Good God, in a pass the collection plate, say benediction, and we can go on home. Oh, my God. And you wonder why Scotlandville played for the state championship just a couple months ago? Now you know. Look for great things from Coach Lester Ricard and anybody that's fortunate enough to be a player of his. Powerful, powerful. Final break of hour one. We'll bang it out, get her done, come back, put a big old bow on this puppy, and wrap up the midweek edition of the Clarence Bug Show, only on the Pelican. Stay close.
For total home pest control, who are you going to call?
Call the Bug Man, 923-BUGS.
For total pest control for your home or business, call the original Salvat.
Call the Bug Man today, 923-BUGS.
No one can stop me when I taste the feeling. Nothing could ever bring me down. Nothing could ever bring me down. Taste the feeling.
Live and play on the fairway at Greystone Golf and Country Club, a serene, challenging golf destination located in Denham Springs. For tee times and membership opportunities, go to greystonecountryclub.com.
Bolello's Furniture and Appliances, your dependable independent.
Depend on us for service, for selection, for price.
Get huge Whirlpool savings. Shop now and save on Whirlpool appliances throughout the store. Plus, experience our price match guarantee and ask about special financing.
You can depend on the know-how of people who live appliances every day.
Bolello's Furniture and Appliances, your dependable independent with nationwide buying power.
Exiles from what you ask? Exiled from the radio. But now we're on your television.
I'm Bill Profita, he's Kevin Gallagher, and they kicked us to the curb.
But we're back.
We are back with Exiles Television on the Pelican Broadcasting Network. We're going to bring you the newsmakers. We're also going to take your calls and give you great information. It's going to be the best damn radio show on television.
Look for it on your cable system or download the app, PelicanSportsTV.com.
They said I could find you here. Why are you fishing? Our company's got to ship out 2 full color brochures and 20 color copies. You're killing me.
It's done. Designed, printed, packaged, and shipped.
How?
You just got to know the right people. Baker Printing, the printing people.
How come you get to fish in this private lake?
Like I said, you just got to know the right people. You can know the right people too.
It every now and then, man, things just fall into place, and it's good news from the recreation standpoint here in the capital city as we spent some time talking with Cheryl Mitchell at BREC. But I also told you there's good news in the New Orleans area as well, as this week it was announced that recreation picking up steam, things are opening back up. High school kids going to be able to engage in contact for football, and probably more important, the playgrounds are going to open back up. Joining us to talk more about this in this segment is our very own Jonathan Poche. You know him as co-host of Tiger's Roar. Jonathan, how are you, big fella?
Clarence, I'm doing great. As you so fondly like to say, it's a great day to be in America, my friend.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So what does this mean to the kids in the New Orleans area? Let's start with them being able to finally engage in contact drills for high school football.
Well, for the high school football, I mean, having the Cantrell administration to open things up, let the full contact start on Monday. The games are supposed to start on the 3rd, so it's a tight window. I mean, it takes some time to get your body football ready, to get in football shape.
Right.
But the players are just excited, ecstatic to be back on the field with their friends. I mean, the city of New Orleans needed football. They were seeing the pressure that was put on the mayor for having Tulane practicing, hosting games last weekend. The Saints, of course, back in the Dome 2 weeks ago. There was a lot of pressure on the mayor to open things up because it's true for New Orleans as it's true for the FCC, as they love to say. It just means more down here.
Yeah. Have you heard any concerns so far from folks there about a potential second wave of COVID-19 because of indoor and outdoor sports resuming in the Big Easy?
Well, of course, there's been some talk of that. I mean, there's never one side without the other, but for the majority, everybody's just happy to get going. There will be a lot of restrictions still put on the facilities, indoor and outdoor. For example, for the outdoor facilities for like football, there will only be 250 fans allowed. That's total for both teams. That is going to put some restrictions on a lot of teams, and it's causing problems. I mean, before Cantrell opened up the football and gave it a go, there was a lot of teams that had already tentatively scheduled games for Jefferson Parish that I go play at Joe Yenny in Metairie or on the West Bank or West Jeff.
Right.
And some teams, after seeing this restriction of 250, they're still keeping those games scheduled outside of the Orleans Parish. Like, for instance, there's a big game for New Orleans football, Easton versus Carr. That's going to be October 3rd. They don't want to move the game because there's going to be a lot more fans allowed outside of the parish.
Right.
I'll give you an example. Joe Yenny Stadium in Metairie, they're going to allow up to 1,000 fans on each side. So, I mean, that's a lot more fans in the stand, a lot more faculty, student body, the whole nine. Not to mention for schools like St. Aug with the famous Marching 100,
right.
That number for the band is also going to count for the number of people in attendance. So they're going to have to do some figuring stuff out. But, hey, they're just happy to be able to play football.
Yeah. You mentioned the Marching 100, one of the more famous high school bands in New Orleans, and I always laugh. The Marching 100 at St. Aug is kind of like Florida A&M University, a well-known HBCU. They're also called the Marching 100, but they've got like 200 people in the band, but that is what that is. Your son, your young son, plays sports. What does it mean to him to be able to hit the playground again?
Well, I mean, Clarence, it's just, I believe that routine is comfortability for children. Once they get into a routine, they're comfortable, no matter what it is.
Yeah.
My son's routine was always playing sports. Most of his friends were made on the field. And I believe that's a great place to build relationships. I mean, you think about what it takes to build a relationship. Well, first you got to have trust, right?
Yeah.
Trust your teammates to do their job while you do your job to attain a goal that you set as a team to achieve together. And that's a big another piece of how to build relationships.
Right.
You talk about the exposure to the coaches. I mean, guys like Lester Ricard, I know he's in high school, but these coaches are a father figure to a lot of these kids who come from single-parent homes.
Yep.
And not allowing them to play sports, I mean, that would really hinder their growth in every aspect. I mean, you talk about emotionally, physically, spiritually. If you can't have that exposure to your teammates, to your coaches, to the support of the fans, I mean, that really does take a lot out of a young child's life.
I know that this is a hypothetical, but what does your gut tell you? What would it have done to the psyche of those kids in New Orleans to watch all around them in the state of Louisiana, their counterparts, their peers being able to suit up and resume play, and in what is arguably the most famous city in the entire state of Louisiana, had they not been able to do the same? What would that have done to the psyche of the city?
I I mean, you have to imagine it's more of the, why us? Life isn't fair. Why is this happening to us? Like, why does this always keep happening, backtracking on New Orleans? Like, we deal with more obstacles in a lot of other cities in Louisiana, but football has always been a coming together. I mean, you look at society today, and it's so charged with the racial diversity and the decisiveness all over the media, on the field and on the court. I mean, that is the one place where race never mattered. If you're good, you play. If you need to work harder, you need to work harder. But you were always accepted as a player for your ability of what you can do on the field and your likability in the locker room as a teammate.
Tell you what, my friend, Lester Ricard better watch his back, man. You stepped in on the tail end of that one and said, "Take this, Lester."
I certainly appreciate it. I mean, what a great segment that was. Got to tip my cap to Lester Ricard and the Scotlandville program. What an outstanding gesture they made. Really, it warms your heart to hear stuff like that, and that is a prime example of why we need football, why these kids need to be in these programs, getting exposure from these coaches.
And it also is a prime example, is it not, that just when the media tries to convince us that America is so bad, America is so evil, we're so systemically racist, this kind of says to some folks, if they're willing to open their eyes and their ears, that, wait a minute, this may not be what the media is feeding us.
That's exactly right, CB. I mean, you look at the devastation after Katrina, and everyone was out of home. Their businesses were destroyed. Their homes were destroyed. I was at that homecoming game at the Superdome when the Saints played the Falcons when Steve Gleason blocked the field goal.
Right.
There has never been a feeling that matched the energy in that Superdome. I mean, you look at the flood of 2016 in Baton Rouge. I mean, there was a lot going on around the greater Baton Rouge area at that time. But once those floods happened, everybody came together. Now, you need something to hope for as a human being, or you'll be miserable. And now that football has opened up, a lot of people are waiting a long time to see if this is going to happen. Is it going to happen? Now it's finally here. Now is the time when everybody needs to come together, drop all this divisiveness, and really just give support to one another. Because like Coach Vanessa said, I mean, you are your brother's keeper. I mean, that's what it is. We have to be there for each other. We have to pick each other up and stop always going for that diversity, that divisiveness that the media tries to feed you.
When can folks catch you on Tigers Roar, Jonathan?
Well, Tigers Roar, I mean, like everything else, it's kind of been up in the air with not knowing what sports have been. LSU does kick off this weekend, 2:30 Mississippi State. LSU, big favorites. Of course, Mike Leach comes to the Death Valley with a new job, new team. They are talented over there at Mississippi State, the Bulldogs. But Coach Cheryl, even with some players opting out, his team is very talented. It's going to be Miles Brennan's year. They kick off this weekend. Hopefully, we're back in the studio next Wednesday. Catch it on Pelican Broadcasting. 8 o'clock on Wednesday. They also have some replays over the weekend. Myself and Bunny Sanji will bring it to you. Of course, you know the Bud man's been doing it forever. A legend in the game. He's chomping at the bit to get the LSU Tigers kicked off, and I'm ready as well.
Jonathan Poche, co-host of Tigers Roar, thank you for the time, my friend. Outstanding job, as always. Thanks, Jonathan.
Always a pleasure, CB. Thank you.
Man, whew. 2 awesome back-to-back segments. Well, actually 3, because we started it all off with Cheryl Mitchell, one of my favorite people on the planet over at BREC. And, Cheryl's love and enthusiasm for what she does just oozes through the TV. And I guess when we were able to hook up with Scotlandville coach Lester Ricard, I don't know if he saw that segment. He said, "Man, I got to bring my A game." And of course, Jonathan, watching all of this, is like, "Clarence, why you do this to me, bro? Why you put me behind these 2 people?" Well, big jobs for big people, Jonathan, and you held up the banner, my man. You held it up firmly and high. It's days like today. And people have asked me this on more than one occasion. And you'd be amazed the number of people that think everybody in media, it's all just a shtick. You'd be amazed the number of people that tell me, Clarence, I always hear you say when people ask, how you doing? First thing out your mouth, it's a great day to be an American. Do you really truly believe that? You darn tootin'. And it's days like this when I can talk to a Cheryl Michelet about doing the great things for recreation in the Baton Rouge community. When I can talk to a Ricard that does the most awesome gesture we've seen in quite some time. And then turn around with a young man like a Jonathan Poche, as insightful as his comments were about what this opening of recreation will mean to the psyche of the young people in a hurting city like New Orleans. You darn right. Today, just like every other day, it's a great day to be an American. Final break of today's show. Bang it out, come back, and wrap up the midweek edition of the Clarence Buggs Show right here and only here on the Pelican. Stay close.
From appetizers, pasta dishes, and entrees, La Contea takes pride in preparing all the Italian cuisine we know you love. Enjoy live music every Thursday through Saturday from 6 to 9, happy hour weekdays from 3 to 6, and brunch on Sundays from 11 to 2, as well as dinner portion-sized lunch specials for under $10. Visit our website to view our menu and book a party or meeting in our large banquet room. Once you try La Contea, your Italian dining will change forever.
Jaguar Nation, we need your help in masking up Louisiana.
Mask help us slow the spread of COVID-19.
During this time, we must continue to wear a mask. Wash your hands and practice social distancing.
It's important that we continue to abide by the CDC's guidelines to stop the spread.
Jaguar Nation, we challenge you to mask up. Go Jags!
Hi, business owners. Phase 3. Woohoo! But do your customers know you're back? Well, that's where the Clarence Buggs Show and Pelican Broadcasting can help. Right now, we've got great rates on advertising packages to help you get the word out. Shoot me an email at bugsclarence@gmail.com. Or better yet, call me up. I'd love to talk with you. 225-485-6839. Let's get together and make Phase 3 the best it can possibly be.
Hello, guys. It's Debbie. It's time. I've got a brand new location. 10510 Airline Highway, Baton Rouge, next to After 5 Tuxedos. We have the perfect spot to get all your wedding and formal wear needs. Come see our one-of-a-kind name brand and get great prices. With 30 years experience, the best customer service anywhere. It's Debbie's Bridal, Airline Highway, Baton Rouge. See you soon.
Hi, I'm Hurricane Betsy Barnes.
And I'm Dr. Kay Siller with the Rocket Right Show.
We are two busy blondes on the go showing off life in Louisiana.
Watch us on Pelican Sports Network.
And Talk 107.3 FM. Check local listings for times.
Hi, I'm Bobby Yarborough with Manda Fine Meats. Here at Manda, we know what the folks of South Louisiana love. They love great flavored smoked sausage, delicious deli meats, and specialty items like boudin and andouille sausage. Manda Fine Meats has been providing these products since 1947. We produce them right here in Baton Rouge, so you know you're always getting the freshest product at your local grocery store. Manda Fine Meats. Taste the fresh local flavor in everything we make. Make it Manda every time.
This one? Okay. Thank you, Marty. You're slow, but you get there, bro. Marty's like, don't put that one on me, bro. Alan. Don't put that on me, Alan. Yeah, I'm going to call you out, bro. But before we get out of here, little housekeeping. A couple of things we would like to cover before we get out of here. You guys and girls probably remember, not so very long ago, our very own Louisiana Department of Agriculture and Forestry, Mike Frain's Mike Strain's awesome group of people over there, had given us the heads up about people receiving unsolicited packages of seeds in the mail. And they were cautioning us to please not plant these seeds because we had no idea what the ramifications were of all these seeds just showing up in America in various mailboxes and the like. Well, LDAF, Louisiana Department of Agriculture and Forestry, announced this week that they've received an update on this matter from the United States Department of Agriculture and Forestry, the USDA. Quote, according to our contacts at the USDA, so far there have been a few species of weeds containing diseases, which is good news. Anytime a foreign specimen is introduced, there is always a chance that it may pose a risk to the agriculture industry or the environment. And that's why it's so vitally important we identify what's in these packages. So far, Commissioner Strain says they've received about 400 specimens of the seeds and have turned them over to the USDA. Nationwide, Commissioner Strain says some 16,000 specimens have been received, and scientists have identified about 5,000 species from the seeds. Bottom line, guys and girls, they're still showing up, and we're still asking that you do not plant these seeds. We've seen what can happen with invasive species on the animal level. The good folks over in Florida now find themselves in dire straits in parts of the Everglades where large carnivorous snakes have been released either on purpose or because of hurricanes. How now they have boa constrictors they're just completely out of control, and they are wiping out all the native wildlife in the Everglades. Closer to home, here in Louisiana, the nutria, or the nutria-rat, as we call them here in Louisiana. We just took the I completely out, you know. Ask a Louisiana, what is a nutria? A what? A nutria. Oh yeah, I know what that is. We just took the I and threw it in the garbage. But that is not a native species to Louisiana. And if you know anything about the damage that nutrients have done to our state, the wetlands and the like, had we been able to eradicate that long before now, it would have bode so much better for our wetlands. But the darn things are here now. And whether or not we will ever be able to get rid of them, God only knows. There's also, and this just occurred to me, I should have kept my mouth shut, Hydrilla. Same thing, not a native species. And as a matter of fact, now that I think about it, we spent some time in an interview with the Louisiana Department of Wildlife and Fisheries earlier this year. There is another invasive plant. They've been asking boaters, when you return out of the water, please make it a point to wash your boats off, get all weeds off so that we don't transport this invasive weed species to other parts of the state. Bottom line, if it's not native to Louisiana, we don't want it here. And when all is said and done, all it takes is just a little responsibility. There are so many things out there these days that if you're not responsible, you're not careful, you're not thinking. The apple snail, that was the other thing that I was trying to, I'm sitting there talking to y'all and the wheel is turning in my head. Come on, Bugs, mine's a terrible thing to waste. What was it you're talking about? The apple snail. That is wreaking havoc with our rice crop. And you know how much we depend on the rice crop here in Louisiana. Mega millions in our agriculture department. And only because some folks thought, hey, this would look great in my aquarium. And then they realized, geez, this thing's getting big. It's eating up everything. And, you know, Louisianians, being animal lovers, couldn't bring ourselves to kill them. So, well, I'll just throw this sucker out there in the bayou. And now the darn things are just devastating the rice crop. All because, you know, we didn't exercise a little common sense. We didn't exercise some discipline, you know, and do some homework, do some research. At the end of the day, you got to know that boa constrictor that you think is so cool, that you think is so cute, at some point, the sucker's going to grow up big enough to strangle you, you know? And when you can't afford to feed it anymore, you can't just sling it out in the bayou, because the next thing you know, now we got a problem. Speaking of research, I implore you guys and girls incessantly, when I tell you things that you probably don't want to hear, particularly from a black conservative, that's a different show for a different day. I always tell you, do your research, do your homework. Well, let me caution you. New survey out from Real Politics this week, saying you got to be careful, particularly about Google. If you are trying to find both sides of an issue, and there's going to be a lot of stuff that you're going to need to research between now and Election Day, liberal side, conservative side. Google is actively suppressing articles that you can research that show a conservative slant. What they'll do is you'll Google whatever. And typically, you know, at Google, they'll give you 10, 12 pages of results, articles that you can click on to check out. Well, they're now actively burying anything that has a conservative slant, particularly a positive conservative slant. They're burying it 7, 8, 9 pages down in results. Most Americans, you Google something, you get 15 pages of results, you might look at the first 2 and you've made up your mind. Why is this important? Well, if you only see one side, you only get one angle, you're not able to make the most educated and informed decision possible. Recommendation, DuckDuckGo, great search engine. And unlike Google, they don't sell your data. Bing, not bad. They offer balance, both sides, but they do sell your data. Google, find you another search engine, y'all. In the words of Fox, be fair and balanced. Time's up and I gotta go. But once again, this day more than others. You're right. America, we are not perfect. But doggone it, from my money, it's the best there is. And God knows there is no place else on his green earth that I'd rather be. Speaking of the good Lord, you do realize by now that he loves you, right? And I hope you know that I do too. Then again, it don't really matter, because there ain't a doggone thing you can do about either one. Make your deal. Take care of yourselves. Let's take care of each other. And I will see you Monday. Love you much. God bless.